Hey guys, how's it going? Companion here. So today we had some pretty big news and some less big news the last few days. So starting off with the big stuff, I'm going to talk about the release of Blackrock Mountain. There's some information kind of leaked, and your resident skeptical expert on conspiracy theories. I thought you guys would like to hear my opinion. And then there's a few cards that have released. I think we have a total of 5 that I haven't gone over because, well, I've been away, and a few have been a little bit more recent. So let's get to it. So what happened today? From what you can see here, there was a Reddit post, and there's some Korean symbols there that you probably don't understand. So the author translated in his way, and it says you can refund it before Blackrock Mountain First Wing, and then it gives a date that presumably is when the first wing is going to be released, which is April 3rd, 6 a.m. Korean time. And, this might mean like April 4th for the rest of the world, maybe, maybe not. And, people went absolutely crazy, and, I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of excited. I'm a little bit biased. I want to believe that's true. On stream, I said that's probably about 80% true. It looks really official. It is from the Blizzard website. Basically, someone wanted to refund their Blackrock purchase, and each of these websites are updated, as I've learned recently, by individual community managers based on each region. So probably the Korean region community manager did a little bit of a screw up, and he probably no longer is the Korean community manager anymore. But they've fixed this, and this is basically like a screenshot thing, and everyone's really excited because people thought that, myself included, that Blackrock wouldn't be released until way later in April. So let's balance out what's going on right now. So this is pretty official. People wouldn't just arbitrarily put a date there and then take it down for no apparent reason. So there is some validity to it, but here's why I think it's probably nothing to go too crazy over. So first of all, there has been no Blizzard expansion or game release ever, as far as I know, on a Friday. Yep. Sorry, boys. Both Nax and GVG were released on Tuesday, and this is especially true for a tiered expansion like Blackrock, because it's going to be like Nax, where they're going to be subsequent week launches of wings. So if you launch it on a Friday and the next update is not the next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, it's kind of weird. So there are a few reasons why they do this. They do want to do big patches on Tuesdays, and it's just, kind of the system they have down. And I've learned the system from playing World of Warcraft, Diablo, all the other kind of crap. So yeah, this is just how they operate, so it seems kind of weird. We have seen with the GVG expansion that they had some sneak peek action cards in Arena before the expansion was actually launched. So perhaps there is some chance that we will be able to play with the cards before you can actually do the wings through arena mode, and this might be the part that is launched on Friday. It's more likely than the first wing actually being launched on Friday. So that's where we are now. I don't really know why exactly they would put that date. What I think is possible, I just throw my conspiracy theory out there that perhaps the development guys gave them a date roughly when they'd be done, and probably, the Tuesday after that is when they'd actually try to go through the patcher and launch the first wing. So I think it's quite likely, certainly more likely than the wings starting to come out on April the 3rd. I think it's somewhat likely, most likely, that will be on the 7th, which is the following Tuesday after the kind of leaked date on the 3rd. So I think that's what's going on. Also because they've been doing these card releases, and they've kind of been balanced out in the past. They don't just dump a whole lot of cards all at once. They kind of did that with GVG a little bit, but GVG had way more cards. In Nax, for instance, it was much more balanced. So right now they've released 14 out of the 31 announced cards that you'll be able to get through the whole of the expansion. And it's actually kind of interesting because each class gets 2 cards. We know how many neutral cards, we know how many legendaries. It's going to be a total of 5 legendaries. It's going to be 18 neutral cards out of the 31, which leaves 18 class cards out of the 31, which leaves 13 neutral cards. And they've actually shown a lot of neutral cards, which is a bit relevant. So they've shown 7 out of 13 of the total neutral cards. This leaves 6 neutral cards left to be released. However, 4 of those are going to be legendaries. So they've actually released basically most of the neutral cards. And that's important to know because, with GVG, you kind of didn't know how the whole picture would change. We kind of have a pretty good idea already. There's not going to be too many game changers. I mean, if we take GVG legendaries as an example, except for Dr. Broom, of course, most of them suck. So, if they do follow that trend, the game is basically as we see it already. So, let's get into the cards. If we see some of the picture already, we should have a pretty good analysis of the cards. And the first 3 I'm going to go over was those released while I was actually at the Blizzard European headquarters. So I didn't get to review them for you guys in time. But here we go, starting with Flame Waker Mage card, 3 for 2/4. And this card, along with a few in the past and some that I'll review today, is kind of what they're trying to do. They're trying to make 3-drops really good, because right now most 3-drops are just kind of whatever. I mean, people are still using stuff like Elden Ring Farseer just because there's nothing better. Even Harvest Golems and non-mech decks are being used because, well, no class really has that great of a 3-drop except, I guess, Hunter and maybe a few things I don't really remember, like Paladins with Peacekeeping effects. So there's a few, but just the slam down solid 3-drop, they want to kind of introduce this, and they're also introducing seemingly one card for each class that has an effect when it receives damage or when you do something, just kind of like a trigger effect. So this is the Mage variety, Flame Waker, 3 mana, 2/4, super solid stats. As a 3-drop, you really, especially in Arena, you're just trying to catch up on the board because you missed a 2-drop, or you're trying to steamroll out of control. And this is kind of like the catch-up variety, which is pretty good, and the effect is unbelievably strong if you have a lot of spells. In Arena, you're not likely to get too many spells. You're also not too likely to play a spell on turn 4 unless your opponent has played something that you want to direct your firebolt towards. And if you do that, it's only really 2 face damage, so it's not really that great. So in Arena, it's good, not really the best thing ever, but good. Good cards in Arena are nice to go by, so when you have a choice between rares, you don't have to pick, Cold Light Oracle, for instance. As far as Constructed, if people keep playing the aggressive stuff, and I imagine they would because we kind of know basically what we're going to expect in the large picture, so I think we'll expect a lot more aggression, and this card will make Mage decks with a lot of spells very good, much better than they already are against the small little creatures that are super annoying to deal with. So this card is absolutely awesome. Next up we have Core Rager, the Hunter card, which kind of is supposed to do something but doesn't really do anything. This card is terrible. 4 for 4/4 is really not good enough these days. People aren't even playing Mechanical Yetis anymore, which is, pretty sad because it's an awesome version of an awesome old Yeti and mech, and it does stuff, and well, Core Rage is just kind of way worse than that. When it comes to playing Hunter, yeah, sometimes on your turn 4 you play your last card, but not really, because usually you're saving spells and situational cards that you want to use to finish off your opponent. So you usually can't actually empty your hand, and let's say that you can. Well, Core Rage is gonna be a 4 mana 7/7, which is insane. Well, not really, because it'll die to Big Game Hunter, because it's suddenly the only creature in the Hunter deck that actually gets hit by Big Game Hunter, so probably get hit by Silence. Nope. That's a swing and a miss. This card is not good. It will probably not be used, and it's a little bit of a shame because, you got the cool art, you got the Core Rager action. I've had this pet as a Hunter in World of Warcraft. I thought it was pretty badass, and, well, I'm going to try to avoid using this card in Constructed, so sorry. Next up, we have the Warlock, 3-drop. This is kind of an awesome card. This is the Imp Gang Boss, 3 for a 2/4. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 1/1 Imp. And it's a demon, so it works with the existing demon synergies that are in the game. People like to play Mal'Ganis sometimes. People who like to play Mal'Ganis also like to play Voidcaller, so suddenly have a few more targets for that are pretty good. Imp Gang Boss might be good enough to be used in Zoo and in the controlling Warlock decks. And, you kind of see a little bit of a shift. A lot of the cards that are being introduced are low attack, high power with effect. So I think there's some chance that some people will bring back some of the cards that make this card strictly worse than probably its closest comparison, which is Imp Master. So Imp Master is a lot worse than Imp Gang Boss in just about every situation. But if people start, hoarding into these, 3-drops that you've seen with the Mage, now with the Warlock, a few others, these are a lot weaker to some choice Priest cards, as well as maybe we'll be seeing a return of the Kodo. Kodo's not really the best card. It actually got improved with GVG because suddenly there was a 2 or less attack creature in literally every single deck, especially in Arena. But, cards just bumped up in strength more than Kodo could keep up. So now, with these cards coming into the picture, if people are going to use plenty of them, Kodo might come back a little bit, and certainly the Priests are going to have a lot of fun with these new cards. So Imp Gang Boss, just to finish up with the card, you're probably going to get it hit once. The only way it's going to die is from hard removal. Again, Priests are going to make this card a little bit worse, but right now Priests suck, so it's kind of irrelevant. So if you do get one extra 1/1 Imp, you're basically getting 4/5 worth of power 3/5 worth of power for 3 mana, which is absolutely awesome. So this card really is going to take that 3-drop position in the Warlock deck, which, Warlocks don't really have much of right now. So a few cards were released, I believe yesterday, and one of them is the Blackwing Corruptor. This card is really exciting. It's really exciting because it's basically a fire elemental, but better if you're holding a dragon. So, we've seen this a little bit in the expansion cards so far, where they're really good if you're holding a dragon. So before we go into the card too much, what can we expect this ability? Because we've seen most of the stuff right now. I mentioned that there's really going to be 2 neutral cards that are yet to be released that aren't legendary, right? The rest are going to be class cards. Do you know how many class dragons there are so far in the game, including the announced cards from Blackwing or Blackrock? 0. There are 0 class dragons. So the most dragons that are going to be played in the early to mid-range decks that we can expect to see are going to be 2. So basically the type of dragons that you're going to be holding are the dragons that you already know exist. So that's kind of a difficult scenario to accomplish. However, what they might do in the remaining cards, specifically in the legendaries that are yet to come, is improve the strength if you are holding a dragon. And this card is really a prime example of that. So rather than just flooding the game with dragons, you'd make the if you're holding a dragon ability really, really powerful. So this one is really, really powerful. If you compare this card, the effect going off, to a fire elemental, it's actually better than fire elemental, because if you scale down a card but keep its battle cry, if its battle cry is really significant, it's generally going to be a lot better. So if you want kind of a direct example, if you had a 3-mana minion and it was 3/2 battle cry, deal 3 damage, that would be fucking crazy. So Blackwing Corruptor is better than one of the best cards in the game. It's usable by everyone, but you gotta put those dragons in the deck and you gotta be holding them. So how likely is that? Well, they seem to be pushing it, so people are gonna try to make it work. I'll try to make it work. I don't know how well it's going to go, but I hope pretty well, because it's a cool mechanic and I want to use some of these new cards, especially this one, because it's pretty OP. Now, this is the last card on the list. This is Dragon's Breath. This is the second card that Mage has received, so each class is going to receive 2. Basically, Mage has received all its cards for Blackrock. This is the second one, Dragon's Breath. It's a 5-mana spell, deal 4 damage, and it costs 1 less for each minion that died this turn. So this card is kind of bad, but there are some situations where it's quite good. It makes it so if you can't really do much in one turn, you do even less with this card. But if you can do a lot of things, this card tempos out like crazy. So it makes it so people who are playing tempo mage or decks that you perpetually spiral out of control, just, basically win more type of decks. This card will be pretty good in. If you really want to compare it, there's Frostbolt for 3 damage, 2 mana. There's Flame Cannon, 4 damage for 2 mana. So for 2 mana, you kind of want like 3.5 damage. So if you get this card for 2 mana, it's great. If you get it for 3 mana, well, it's not so great. So that's kind of the tipping point. And a very, very common situation is, you trade your minion for your opponent's minion. So this card is very often going to cost 3 mana, which it kind of sucks, but with the option to tempo out your opponent. Sometimes when you do like a double trading creature, you play this card for 1, or if you're really lucky for 0. You can do a lot of magic. So I think it'll be fair. I think as a card it's really good, but Mage is already a really good class, and they're already getting good cards from the expansion. Not only that, a lot of the dragon-themed kind of crap that they're trying to push doesn't really work with Mage too well. So I don't really know how much of Mage is going to change, and if it's not going to change, I don't know if this card will be included. But if Tempo Mage is a thing, this will be a thing in Tempo Mage. So we'll have to see how that rolls out. And, well, if the release that's kind of leaked is going to be true, we should expect quite a few more cards in the near future. And if you enjoyed my review here, I hope you guys check those out. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.